歡迎大家出席今日就住今年1月至到3月嘅賣地計劃嘅會見傳媒環節啦。咁發展局局長首先呢就會有一個開場發言嘅，之後呢就會回答大家嘅提問。而家就將時間交俾個局長，唔該局長。
各位傳媒朋友，大家好。因為呢今日都係新嘅一年第一次喺度同大家見面啦。咁我首先呢都祝各位呢新年快樂，工作順利嘅。我今日呢就想同各位介紹一下呢政府喺今個財政年度嘅第4季度，即係我哋1月至3月嘅賣地計劃。喺第4季度呢，政府係會出售一幅位於元朗創新園附近嘅工業用地，用嚟發展呢多層現代產業大樓。一方面呢係推動產業嘅發展，另一方面呢係用比較有土地效益嘅方式，為我哋嘅棕地作業呢提供一個嘅發展空間嘅。咁呢一幅工業用地呢係大約3.2公頃，可以提供呢大約16萬平方米嘅樓面面積。咁有別於以往嘅工業用地呢，我哋會有一啲嘅特別嘅要求嘅。我哋係會透過賣地條款呢，要求發展商呢將不少於3成嘅樓面面積呢係移交俾政府，以便政府呢係可以用相約於棕地市場嘅租金，即係話比較一個優惠嘅租金呢，將呢啲樓面面積呢出租俾受政府發展影響嘅棕地業務經營者。咁由於呢一個係新嘅安排，我哋喺舊年嘅6月至8月呢，係曾經邀請市場提交發展意向書嘅。咁我哋收翻嚟嘅意見呢，係確立咗上述嘅出售方案呢係可行嘅。咁我亦都順應咗主流意見呢，將幾幅原本係較細嘅用地，其實即係各位呢喺今年度嘅賣地表見到嘅3幅工業用地呢，我哋將佢合併。呢個係順應我哋收翻嚟嘅主流意見，將佢合併成為我剛才所講嘅呢一幅比較大嘅用地。咁我哋咁樣做呢，都係希望增加嗰個成本效益啦。咁我哋而家呢係準備緊招標嘅細節，詳情呢會喺今個季度招標之前呢再公佈嘅。咁接下落嚟呢，同大家講下私營房屋土地方面嘅情況。喺第4季度呢，我哋預計呢會有8個私人發展同埋重建項目呢喺呢個季度入邊完成所需嘅地契修訂，一共呢係可以提供1630個單位，加埋今年早前呢，今個財政年度早前曾經流標，而香港房屋協會呢，目前已經同意咗承接嘅荃灣油柑頭嘅首置項目入邊嘅1940個單位呢，呢個第4季度嘅私營房屋土地供應呢，預計可以支持興建大約3570個單位嘅。考慮到呢一啲唔同來源嘅季度供應同埋本年度供應嘅額呢，其實相當接近年度供應嘅目標，加埋近呢幾個月市場投地嘅氣氛呢係較為淡靜嘅，所以政府呢喺第4季度呢就不會另行推售住宅用地啦。剛才我提過，今年度私人住宅用地嘅供應呢係相當接近年度嘅供應目標。咁我喺呢度呢想補充說明一下嘅。今個年度頭3季嚟自不同來源嘅土地供應，即係已經發生咗㗎啦嘅供應呢，係包括政府成功推售嘅3幅土地啦，市建局成功推出嘅2個重建項目，23宗嘅地契修訂，同埋19宗唔需要地契修訂嘅重建。預計呢啲不同來源呢，合共可以承載大約7960個單位。呢個係頭3季已經發生、已經知道㗎啦。加埋第4季度，我方才所提到 預計可以支持興建大約3570個單位呢。今個財政年度嘅土地供應預計合共呢係可以提供大約11530個單位，11530，所以呢係相當接近今年度供應嘅目標。我哋嘅目標呢係12900個單位嘅。咁呢個數字呢，仲未反映第四季度呢可能會有一啲嚟自無需修訂地契嘅個案。呢個數字呢，一般呢係較後先至有個統計嘅。咁我會喺今個財政年度結束之前呢，就全年嘅供應情況呢，再作進一步嘅交代同埋總結嘅。咁最後類別嘅用地呢，就係商業用地啦。考慮到目前商業樓面嘅空置率呢，仍然係喺一個較高嘅水平，我哋亦都不會喺今季呢推出任何嘅商業用地。政府係會秉持增加土地供應嘅決心，並且繼續有節有道咁樣呢向市場推出土地，供發展經濟同埋房屋之用。喺過程之中呢，我哋係會繼續留意住嘅市況，並且綜合考慮不同來源嘅供應，為每一個季度呢作出合適嘅安排嘅。咁如果大家唔介意嘅話，我用英文簡單講一啲嘅重點。Today I will introduce the government's land sale program and land supply from other sources in the fourth quarter of this financial year. That is January to March 2024. In this fourth quarter, the government will put up for tender an industrial site near Yuen Long Inno-Park for the development of multi-story buildings for modern industries, in order to promote the development of industries and help consolidate brownfield operations in a land-efficient manner. This industrial site is around 3.2 hectares in size and is expected to provide floor space of around 160,000 square meters. Unlike industrial sites in the past, we will request the developer, under specific land sale conditions, to set aside and transfer no less than 30% of the constructed floor space to the government, so that we could lease the relevant floor space to brownfield operators affected by government's development projects at a rental comparable with the market rental of existing brownfield sites. As this is a new arrangement, the government invited the market to submit expression of interest from June to August last year, with feedback received confirming the feasibility of this approach. Pursuant to mainstream opinion received, we have combined a few smaller sites, which are those 3 sites appeared in our land sale program, into this single industrial site for tender and development in order to enhance cost effectiveness. We are formulating the tender details for announcement at tender commencement. As regards private housing land, we estimate that 8 private development projects would complete their lease modifications in the fourth quarter, providing a supply of about 1,630 flats. Adding on the supply of 1,940 flats from the Starter Homes project at Yau Gam Tau, Tsuen Wan, which the Hong Kong Housing Society has already agreed to take up, private housing land supply in the fourth quarter is expected to support the development of around 3,570 flats. Taking into account this expected quarterly supply from various sources, the fact that this year's supply is rather near the annual supply target, as well as the fact that market sentiments in land tender is rather sluggish recently, the government will not separately put up any residential sites for sale in the fourth quarter. As mentioned, this year's private housing land supply is rather near the target. Let me elaborate the figures. Land supply from various sources in the first 3 quarters of this financial year is expected to have a capacity to support around 7,960 flats. This includes 3 government land sale sites successfully sold, 2 projects taken forward by the Urban Renewal Authority, 23 lease modification cases, as well as 19 private development projects not requiring lease modification. Together with the supply of an estimated 3,570 flats expected from the fourth quarter, the total land supply in this financial year is expected to support some 11,530 flats, which is close to our annual target of 12,900 flats. This figure has not yet reflected the supply from private development projects not requiring lease modification in the fourth quarter, as such figures are normally only available at a later stage. I will further sum up the supply situation of the year before the year closes. As for commercial sites, considering that vacancy rate of commercial floor space remains on the high side, we will not be rolling out any commercial site for sale in this quarter. The government will hold on to our determination to increase land supply and will continue to provide land to the market for economic and residential developments in a prudent and paced manner. In the process, we will continue to monitor the market situation and holistically consider supply from various sources so as to make fitting arrangements for each quarter.
大家有咩時間？請大家提問之前呢，先介紹自己代表嘅傳媒機構。紅色外套呢一位。
局長你好，香港電台㗎，即係之前咧都有支地係試過流標啦，咁今次直情係唔賣呢個住宅地啦，係咪其實都擔心再流標嘅情況出現呢？係咪政府都睇淡即係呢個嘅前景呢？會唔會影響住宅單位嘅供應呢？另外就係北都嗰度嗰個換地 deadline 過咗啦，咁發展商未接受政府 offer 啦，會唔會都係即係會影響到個供應呢？唔該。
首先呢，我哋今季呢唔主動去由政府去賣住宅地呢，正如我頭先所講呢，我哋都要睇返呢一個季度嘅供應呢，嚟自其他嘅來源有啲乜嘢嘅出產嘅。咁我哋計及嗰啲嘅來源，即係本身有一啲係需要地契修訂啦，亦有油金頭呢一個項目。同埋我哋都睇返呢，去到而家我哋都大約知道今個年度我哋可以預計嘅數字呢，都好近年度嘅供應。咁所以喺咁嘅情況之下呢，我哋覺得都睇返而家目前市場嗰個投地嘅氣氛呢，我哋認為暫時唔再推出呢個住宅地喺今個財政年度嚟講呢，係合適嘅。總的嚟講呢，我諗我哋社會都期望政府呢係會持續向市場提供嘅土地，但係我哋總不能一成不變呢，每一季必定每一類嘅土地呢都會有主動推出嚟市場去賣，因為點解我哋要有一個季度嘅供應，每一季出嚟同大家講呢？正正就係我哋有年度目標嘅之餘，我哋都要睇住市場嘅情況，每一季開始嘅時候睇下當時嘅情況，同埋當時我哋總結到嗰個年度嘅情況呢，作出合適嘅安排嘅。至於你第二個問題呢，提到話我哋最近喺粉嶺北、古洞北有一啲地契修訂嘅個案啦，到期而唔成事啦。咁我諗有關嘅6宗個案，媒體都有報導啦。咁我哋都係用平常心去看待嘅，因為政府由始至終呢都係説明，如果喺新發展區嘅發展呢係由政府主導嘅，即係話政府係預咗係要喺新發展區嗰度呢透過政府去收地，去做一啲嘅公營嘅發展，同埋一個私營我哋重新整理好嘅土地再去推出，呢個係政府預咗基本盤收地去做呢個發展嘅。但係點解我哋早前都提出有呢一個加強版嘅原址換地安排呢？就係考慮到如果現有嘅業權人佢哋配合到政府嘅規劃用途，配合到政府嘅時間表，同埋配合到 政府對於而家喺地上嘅受眾嘅一啲安置補償嘅要求呢，我哋樂意俾佢哋去參與嘅。咁但係喺呢一個遊戲規則之下，如果真係配合唔到政府定出嚟嘅時間表，大家都知道嗰個後續嘅工作呢，就係政府入場去收地，所以係不會影響呢我哋推動呢一個新發展區嗰個發展呢嗰個嘅步速同埋決心嘅。
經濟。唔該，用咪啊。
係，局長想問下咧，而家你哋就話唔推住宅地啦，其實會唔會都係驚市場供應太多呢？另外你話嗰個商廈嗰個空置率而家都係高位，咁其實有啲報告都話其實未來幾年都會係繼續處於高位嘅。咁其實係咪代表可能用咩準則去衡量去推唔推商業地呢？咁嚟緊幾時會恢復翻呢個步伐啦？另外想問一問北都嗰6宗嘅補地價，就係外界都質疑嗰6宗補地價金額太高啦，你哋有啲咩回應呢？咁同埋你哋話短期內會收回土地，如果短期係意味住幾時呢？最後就係想問問補地價告吹咧，對於政府現金流有啲咩影響？唔該。
一口氣4個問題。嗱，第一個問題呢，其實我相信頭先都回應咗另一位記者朋友㗎啦。我哋今季嚇暫時冇推一個嘅私營房屋嘅用地呢，其實係咪反映我哋對市場冇信心呢？咁我諗唔可以咁樣講嘅。其實一個負責任嘅政府呢，都要留意住市場嘅情況。我哋都唔希望推咗出嚟，其實大家嘅反應唔好嘅時候呢，其實市場又會有一啲嘅解讀㗎啦。咁其實可能對整個市場都唔係一件好事嚟嘅。所以我哋幾時去推邊一幅嘅地，點樣去部署呢？我哋總要顧及而家市場嘅情況。咁過去呢幾個月，實在係話到俾我哋聽呢，市場對於投一啲嘅房屋用地或者商業用地呢，其實似乎嗰個胃口唔係咁好啦。咁所以我哋覺得而家既然我哋今年我哋嘅目標呢，大致都係達到嘅，咁我哋覺得而家今季嚟講，我哋都係依靠其他來源嘅供應呢，係有佢個合適性嘅。第二呢，你頭先問得好好嘅，你話商業樓面呢，其實而家嘅空置率呢係處於一個比較嘅高位。的確我哋睇到有一啲嘅市場嘅調查啦，如果甲級嘅寫字樓呢，而家嗰個空置率呢係可以接近呢13%嘅。咁我記得我以前都提過嘅，我哋推地唔可以淨係睇當前嗰個情況。你頭先嗰個問題就係話，如果嚟緊嗰個空置率繼續係咁，咁我哋係咪以後都唔推商業地，或者呢幾年都唔推呢？其實唔係一個咁簡單嘅方程式嚟嘅，因為我時人都講，我哋推地係推地嗰下，個地仲需要時間發展嘅，到嗰個樓面起好呢，可能已經係幾年之後。所以我哋的確唔可以淨係睇而家嗰個空置率嘅情況，因為如果唔係，到我哋經濟再起飛呢，可能我哋又唔夠嗰個樓面用啦。但係我哋都要顧及，又係市場而家嗰個嘅狀態啊，其實係有一個感染性嘅。如果我哋而家睇到大家對於投商業地似乎個意欲唔高，我哋都睇到嚟緊呢幾年會陸續有一啲而家起緊嘅都幾巨無霸嘅商業樓呢，係會陸續落成嘅，即係話嗰個供應呢都會有多嘅。咁其實我哋就要做一個盤算啦。如果我哋而家再去推，係為咗幾年之後嗰個嘅經濟需要嘅發展，會唔會令到大家嗰個心理上又有一啲嘅壓力呢？咁所以雖然話冇方程式之下，但係都要唔同嗰個因素呢去糅合去睇嘅。咁我相信如果我哋今季唔推商業地呢，我相信其實市場唔會覺得出奇嘅嚇。你第三個問題呢，就係我哋嗰6宗新界古洞北粉嶺北嗰個原址換地唔成功啦，係咪因為我哋嘅地價高咁？其實向來原址換地成唔成功呢？嗱，我首先要解一解呢6宗個案呢，都係去到大家商討補地價嘅階段啦。 即係話大家對於一啲嘅基本嘅條款啊，包括嘅建築期有幾長啊，呢個地係要求要做啲乜嘢嘢啊，其實係冇意義㗎啦。即係對方亦都接受咗，我哋先至進入一個補地價嘅商討。咁我相信最後都係傾唔到呢。其實大家可能真係對嗰個地價嗰個嘅要求係有唔同嘅睇法啦。咁如果話政府過高呢，你可以倒翻轉話對方太低嘅，低到不切實際，亦都可以嘅。咁所以呢，我唔會評論邊個高邊個低，但係向來都係呢啲補地價都要雙方你情我願，大家都要覺得合理呢先至得嘅。咁政府作為政府，我哋都有一個我哋基本嘅搜集人嘅態度嘅。咁如果真係唔成事，我哋咪按翻個遊戲規則去進場收地咯。咁如果係政府要出資收地，當然我哋嗰個現金嘅支出、現金流嗰方面前期要用翻啦。咁但係正如我一早講啦，其實新發展區嘅基本盤政府係預咗收地嘅，咁所以呢一個唔會話令我哋大亂陣腳嘅。咁或者我都大體上答咗你幾個問題㗎啦。
答一條英文題目啊 ，R3。
Hello, some questions from TMHK. Ms. Lin, can you tell us, is the failed tender in the previous quarter the major reasons that make the government think that it's not the right time to put up residential sites for tender this quarter? And can you recap in English when may you resume selling residential sites? Also, the residential units that you mentioned is still slightly lower than the target. Do you think, what would the government do to really meet the target this quarter in terms of providing enough residential units? Thank you.
Okay. On your first question on why we are not rolling out sites for private housing in this quarter, as I have mentioned in my introductory remarks, basically we determine what sort of sites to offer and whether to offer any sites for sale on a quarterly basis, because we have to take into account the prevailing market situation and the latest position regarding the expected outturn for our annual supply. So as I mentioned, it is our estimation that by now our expected outturn for the whole year should be quite close to our annual supply target for housing land, and that's one reason. The second reason is that in recent months we have witnessed that the market is not too keen in tendering for residential sites. We do have failed tender, and even if we have successful tender, as in the case of the Cheung Sa, we have only one bid. So this is a signal that the government has to take into account. So if we can make ends meet largely for this current financial year, I think it is prudent for us to also take into account the prevailing market sentiments by not putting up a further site for sale in this quarter. But we do not have a formula as to what we will roll out or when we will roll out the residential sites again, because I will see you very often. Every quarter, I will come to account for our quarterly land sales program. So very soon, I will give an account of our plan for the next quarter, and we will do that on a quarterly basis.
信報啊。
唔該。局長你好，信報想問幾個問題，一個就係關於嗰個賣地計劃嗰度咧，即係之前有幾幅地流標，咁加上今次就直頭無論政府或者一鐵一局都唔推地啦，即係唔推住宅地啦。其實政府會唔會研究翻或者諗翻有冇其他方法去推啲住宅地咧？即係除咗依家按季咁樣去公佈一啲地出嚟招標之外，會唔會用翻啲其他嘅方法去推住宅地？ 咁另外都想問翻關於新界東北嗰幾幅地，咁一方面就係6幅，即係傾完補地價就唔成功嗰6幅啦。咁政府有冇諗住係幾時要進場收地啦？咁啊，如果重推嘅話，會諗住用咩方法重推？會都係擺賣地表咁樣攞出嚟招標啊，定還是其他方法呢？咁而另外都想問翻，因為有2幅就係舊年12月先至因為新嗰個原址換地嗰個計劃就去納入咗去做進一步考慮嘅地皮，嗰2幅地皮其實會唔會再有多少少資料，例如係諗住起幾多個單位啦？可以咁而個傾補地價嘅時間，因為見到尋日發展局有講到話，即係諗住4月就要傾掂啦。咁但係其實之前6幅地就可能都係有一段嘅時間俾佢哋去傾補地價嘅。其實得4個月時間夠唔夠呢？而喺新嗰個方法之下，即係政府有可能係要幫發展商去收地嘅。其實呢個會唔會都幫佢哋收地？有冇需要幫佢哋收地啦？同埋就係有冇啲咩政府設施係需要呢2幅地嘅發展商要去起呢？唔該。
你第一個問題呢，就係我哋除咗主動由政府推售土地，有冇其他方法呢，可以向市場提供一啲起樓啊，或者係商業樓面啊嘅用地啦？咁我諗，如果喺房屋用地方面呢，其實我哋其他嘅方法就係我哋向來講嘅其他供應來源啦，包括係市區重建局佢哋嗰個重建項目啦，同埋有一啲而家已經係私人土地，譬如佢哋做重建，佢哋會做個地契修訂啦，亦都有一啲唔需要地契修訂嘅個案。咁我諗呢啲呢，都會係我哋繼續以此嘅供應來源嚟嘅。如果你話再有一啲再唔同啲嘅方法，我可以想到嘅就係直接去批地俾某一個嘅企業啦。咁但係呢一啲呢，通常我哋就用喺一啲產業用地嘅情況，或者一啲係有特殊社福需要嗰個情況就多啲嘅。如果你話係一般嘅私人房屋同埋商業用地呢，我相信我哋比較少，亦都未有一個好足夠嘅理據呢，係透過直接批地嘅方式呢去做嘅。你第二個問題呢，就係我哋而家最新納入咗喺古洞北、粉嶺北會處理嘅2宗申請，我哋會點樣去處理啦？其實嗰2宗嘅申請呢，大概佢哋涉及嗰個可供嘅單位呢，我哋而家初步睇呢係1000度啦嚇。咁但係當然，當我哋繼續再同佢細緻傾入去嘅時候，視乎有關嘅申請人佢哋嗰個開積啊係點樣呢？可能有啲嘅變化嘅。但係而家我哋睇到嗰2宗個案呢，大約夾埋大約係1000個私營住宅單位度啦。咁你話淨係得4個月嘅時間，同佢哋去傾晒所有嘅修訂地契嘅條款同埋補地價夠唔夠呢？咁嗱，當然如果有長啲嘅時間，我哋都想嘅。咁但係呢，正如我頭先所講啦，所有新發展區去嗰個嘅推展呢，係政府有一個時間表嘅。而喺古洞北、粉嶺北呢一個區域嗰個時間表呢，其實我哋的確呢係要今年喺唔同嘅時間為唔同嘅地塊呢，就要進行收地㗎啦。咁呢個係我哋預先其實已經定咗落嚟嘅時間表。咁既然呢2宗申請純粹係因為政府我哋最近公布放寬咗一啲我哋處理換地申請嘅一個嘅遊戲規則或者參與門檻啦，咁所以我哋將佢納翻入嚟，俾個機會佢哋做。咁但係我哋都冇辦法啦，都要跟翻一個比較快速嘅時間表去配合我哋呢個新發展區嘅整體發展嘅安排嘅。咁我相信呢2個申請人都會把握時間嘅，因為其實除咗補地價呢個環節，其他呢個用地一啲嘅條款呢，其實大家可能之前都喺同唔同嘅部門呢都有一啲嘅溝通㗎啦。頭先有一個問題係另一位記者朋友都有問嘅，我而家記起我冇答到，就係嗰6宗唔成功嘅申請。咁政府就話根據遊戲規則，我哋會盡快收地㗎啦。咁係幾時收呢？其實我哋係會嚟緊呢幾個星期呢，我哋就會啟動 嗰一個叫做我哋通常收地就貼一個通告喺個現場啦。咁3個月後個地就復歸政府㗎啦。咁我哋就會喺嚟緊呢幾個星期之內，好快就會啟動呢一個嘅程序㗎啦。
白色外套呢一位。
係局長你好 ，TVB 㗎嗱，都想問翻就係今個年度咧，見到其實買得3幅地啦，咁其實個收入都不足1成啊。其實點睇呢一個數咧？即係會唔會變相其實對於香港成個財赤嘅情況都有啲影響咧？同埋即係住宅地咧累積到出年咧都有成9幅㗎，即係去到下個年度其實個市況會唔會更加差咧？即係會唔會繼續累積落去，令到嗰啲地更加賣唔晒咧？唔該。
首先呢，我諗第二個問題呢，就係我哋今年呢，我哋原本喺我哋嘅賣地表呢，就有12幅地嘅，咁我哋有3幅就成功賣出啦，有1幅由金頭嘅土地就會由呢一個房協佢哋去承接啦，咁剩餘落嚟嘅，咁會點樣處理呢？咁其實呢，呢個就可能要一如以往，我哋喺我哋公佈下一個財政年度嘅賣地表，即係2024-25年度嘅賣地表嘅時候呢，我哋就會再作交代。咁通常大家都會見到呢，如果今年有一啲嘅地擺過喺賣地表，我哋係冇推過出嚟呢，咁大家都好多時會見到嗰啲地呢，會喺明年嘅賣地表呢，我哋可能都會帶落去嘅。咁但係我而家就唔會有一個水晶球去預計究竟明年擺落賣地表全部係啲咩嘅地，同埋我哋會幾時賣邊一幅啦？呢個都係要留待我哋遲啲同大家交代明年嘅計劃，同埋每一季我哋都會再作一個嘅研判，睇埋唔同嘅土地來源嗰個嘅供應呢，然之後做一個呢叫做合併咁多來源之後，做一個合適嘅決定嘅。
後面白色口罩嗰位女士。
局長你好，明報㗎。想問翻呢，今季呢嗰部私人修訂契約嗰度呢，有冇涉及到早前呢北都呢有間發展商呢接納咗用標準補價嗰個涉及嘅單位數目啦，同埋而家到截至而家或者係第3季啦，即係年度第3季啦，個賣地收益大概而家有幾多？因為你哋個目標賣地收益都850億㗎嘛，年初定咗。同埋另外最後一個。
好啊，或者賣地收益嗰度呢，我頭先都漏咗答 TVB 各位記者朋友，你都有提到賣地收益嘅，咁我一併回應啦。嗱，我哋嘅賣地收益呢，向來每一年呢都會有一啲佢不可確定性喺入邊嘅。即使財政司司長佢每一年喺佢嘅預算案嗰度，好似今個財政年度佢預咗係850億嚟自呢一個嘅收益。但係向來都係啦，我哋推邊一幅地，同埋個市場對嗰幅地嘅興趣，出啲乜嘢嘅價，其實都係會好影響呢嗰一年嗰個賣地收益嘅。呢個係推地嗰方面，而嗰個賣地收益嘅預算呢，亦都預計咗、假設咗一啲私人土地嗰個地契修訂嗰個補價嘅。咁呢個呢，亦都有佢嗰個不確定性。因為嗰啲私人土地究竟佢提交入嚟嘅申請幾時可以完成到嗰個嘅大家嘅商討呢？包括係嗰個修訂條款嘅商討同埋地價嘅商討，呢啲唔係完全政府係可以控制嘅，因為都係要雙方大家去傾嘅。所以喺咁多種種因素之下呢，其實每一年嗰個嘅實際嘅賣地收入同原來嘅預算會有一啲嘅分別呢，係絕對唔出奇嘅。過去好多年，大家都有見到呢一個嘅情況，有陣時係多咗，有陣時係少咗，而少咗個幅度呢，有陣時係大，有陣時係細。咁如果問到話而家至今我哋嗰個嘅賣地收益係幾多呢？咁其實都係一啲大家已知嘅資料啦。如果我哋今年成功頭3季已經賣出咗嘅3幅政府推嘅用地呢，嗰度我哋嘅收益係接近73億啦。 咁另外，如果係頭嗰3季要修訂地契嘅項目呢，其實地政總署都會將佢嗰個嘅資料完成咗個地契修訂呢，就擺上個網，大家亦都會睇到佢嗰個嘅補地價嘅。咁我哋都睇過嘅，如果夾埋呢，頭嗰3季完成咗呢啲地契修訂同埋補價呢，其實嗰個收益呢係大約50億嘅。咁即係話賣地嗰3幅73億，加修訂地契完成咗嗰啲補價50億，所以嚟到而家呢，我哋大家都公開可以計到嘅呢，我哋嗰個收益呢就係123億。咁但係當然啦，而家我哋係1月頭啦，咁其實今個財政年度係3月尾去完結啦。咁仲有一啲其他，我剛才提到啦，第4季都會有一啲地契修訂嘅個案，咁而家未曾完成嘅，不過我哋預計佢喺第4季會完成。咁加埋嗰啲個案嘅補價又會有幾多呢？咁呢一度呢，同埋我會唔會有其他嘅新嘅地契修訂係我哋而家突然間進展好快，我哋唔知道呢？咁所以我哋未能夠有一個最後嘅數字嘅，一切都要等財政司司長佢嘅財政預算案嗰度呢，就再同大家交代嗰一個嘅修訂預算㗎啦。
Lamar Jobo, I have 2 questions. So is it the first time that the government did not put up any put up tender for any residential sites ever? And since when? And also, does that mean that you guys have a rather sluggish market expectations towards the end of this quarter? And yeah, that's it. Only the 2 questions.
I have not gone into very many years back, but I think it is the first time in recent years in which we have not put up a private housing site for sale. But I don't think this is something to be of alarm, because as a responsible government, it is only right for us to plan our land sale program in a prudent and controlled manner, taking into account the supply from other sources, including the other sources of private land involving lease modifications, and also taking into account the prevailing market sentiment, as well as the estimated outturn, which I have mentioned is pretty close to our target this year. I think it is only right for the government to plan our land sales not in a mechanical manner, but in a very prudent and controlled manner, taking into account all relevant factors.
我諗我哋今日到此為止啦，唔該晒大家。
好，多謝咁多位。